Hello everyone, we're Sisters in Crime Australia and we've been celebrating women's crime writing since 1991. Welcome to Murder Mondays. Every Monday we're going to ask a crime writer about her crime craft. I'm Karina Kilmore, I'm a debut crime writer, I'm a career journalist and I'm a convener for Sisters in Crime. But before I introduce Katherine Kovacic, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Katherine, you're described as an author, art historian, dog trainer, maybe crazy dog lady, and sometimes tango dancer. You're also a trained vet and you've published 3 crime books featuring Alex Clayton, the art dealer, and her faithful sidekick, Hogarth, the wolfhound. Before we get to the questions, give us the elevator pitch about your latest novel, The Shifting Landscape.
Thank you, Karina. Okay, The Shifting Landscape, that one is, as you said, the 3rd book in the Alex Clayton series. In this book, Alex Clayton is called to the Western District to value the Macmillan family's historic art collection. She finds their property and she also finds a previously unknown and very valuable colonial masterpiece.
Handy.
But she also finds, yes, always very handy, and she also finds that the family is fraught with tension. There's a lot of argument about the future of the property and its place in a significant and ancient Indigenous landscape. Then the patriarch of the family dies under mysterious circumstances, and of course the painting goes missing. Alex decides she's going to get out of there because, you know, who wants to get involved in that sort of stuff? But then a toddler also goes missing and her dog disappears. So Alex and her friend, John, who's also been drawn into the mystery, join searchers scouring the countryside looking for the toddler. But Alex's attempts to sort out the Macmillan family have put her in danger, and she's not the only one. So the big question is, will the landscape reveal its secrets to Alex before another murder happens?
Ooh. Very interesting. Okay, we're going to shuffle the questions.
Ooh, okay.
And we'll just start with whatever we get. Here we go. You get 1 pass.
Okay.
If you need it.
Good to know.
Who should play your central character on screen?
Oh no, pass. Can't do that.
I'm going to come back to this one. What's your writing routine?
Early morning. So I get up very early with the dogs. I walk with the dogs, and that's my head clear space. And then I come in and start writing. And I have to have a nice block to go. I can't do the 10-minute things. So I have to have 45 minutes to an hour to really get myself into the world and go for it from there. And then the rest of the day kind of intrudes and it's all gone.
And do you read what you've read before and then start, or do you just start fresh every morning?
I start fresh every morning.
Yeah. What's your top writing tip, and what's your top self-editing tip?
Oh, okay. Keep writing even when it's really inky and it feels like you're just wading through quicksand. You just got to keep going. And my editing tip is, I suppose it's my research tip. So always research and find all the nuggety little research bits and then throw them away, but just have them sitting in the back of your mind so that they kind of filter through.
Yep. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a plotter. I have to go from A through to Z. Sometimes it's like having a dodgy GPS system that I think I'm taking, the freeway. And then we end up taking that weird little detour onto all the side roads. But I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going.
So do you have a big spreadsheet or sticky notes on the wall, or how do you do the plotting?
Well, the next one I'm working on, I have a lot of interwoven characters. So I had to go and buy a different coloured notepad for each character so that I can lay out my colours, and then where they intersect, I can put different coloured pages inserted into the plot line for the different characters. So it's kind of a bit out of hand at the moment, but it's working in my brain. So
So that's all paper-based too, by the sound of it.
Yeah, just to get started. So once I'm sort of underway, I use Scrivener, so I have all my little I should do it that way for you. All my little chapters and things mapped out on the side, and they're all headed, even if they're just empty documents. So I've always got, you know, bits to fill in, but I have to wait. I can't go ahead. I can't jump ahead. I have to keep following my little road through.
Yeah. When and how do you work out plot twists and red herrings?
Most of them I know where they're going to come, but sometimes the characters lead me there. So I've had a couple of occasions when I've thought something was going to happen, and then I'm literally typing and it just something else comes out, and I have this strange discussion with my characters about, why are you doing that? Where are we going? What? And sometimes it's a disaster, but sometimes just following the characters makes it work.
Okay. Who are your literary inspirations?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. I like Charlotte J. So early Australian crime, the first person to win an Edgar Award and an Australian woman in the 1950s. So the fact that she was out there, and she does beautiful psychological things too. So really weird sort of fetish hair kind of things. That I know it sounds bizarre, but just it's just a beautiful sort of psychological thing, and she has nice exotic settings too. So Charlotte J. And I think the classic crime. So I'm a bit of a sort of a Raymond Chandler sort of Dashiell Hammett kind of person, just for that sense of place and time, I think too.
Great. How much of a profile do you do for each character before you start to write them?
Probably not much. I find that I get to know the characters as my protagonist gets to know them, because I don't know if it's just the style I'm writing in, but that just sort of feels more organic to me. So it's as she gets to know them, I get to know them. So sometimes I have to go back and change bits and pieces about what they did back there to make it work out. But yeah.
What research did you do for your latest novel?
Well, a bit of art research, because Alex always has paintings and things going on. She's always thinking about paintings and inspired by paintings. But the setting was the main one for me. It's set in the Western District, so I spent some time down there, and in particular the Indigenous landscape down there, which is the Budge Bim Indigenous landscape, which is a significant. It was listed on the UNESCO World Heritage List last year, and it's at least 6,000 years old. It's this series of eel traps sort of carved through the larval landscape. So it's it's one of the earliest forms of aquaculture, and it's really quite fascinating. So that became a big part of the book, and so that was a really important part of just getting the Indigenous heritage of that area.
Yeah. So did you include that aquaculture in the story, or was it just sort of a finding afterwards?
It's a place that Alex visits, and it does come up through the story.
Yeah, I remember when it was discovered. It was amazing.
Yeah.
How many drafts do you write before handing it in?
Oh, wow. I always bash straight through, so I always have that first draft. Probably 4 or 5, just depending on where things are going.
Yeah. Do you start with plot or the character?
It's really plot. So I think because, well, the art world has all these grubby little corners. So there's always things that kind of happen. And so it's almost like Alex is sitting in my head going, hey, did I tell you about the time there was that dodgy painting and all the shifty little deals. So usually I get an idea based on an art crime, and that sort of sends me off. Or in the case of the second book, it was a painting with a curse on it, which I just thought, that's just so crazy. I have to do that. So it's usually something arty that sends me down a particular rabbit hole.
Yeah. How do you decide the scene of a crime?
In the shifting landscape, that was tied into the art. So it was the art of Eugene Wangerard sent me to the Western District in the first place. And obviously for Alex, it's going to have, it doesn't always. It might have some sort of arty background to it, a museum or something like that. But it's again determined, I guess, by places where Alex as an art dealer is likely to be. So whether that's a museum or a house with a private collection, or maybe a dodgy auction house. I don't know, just that's got to factor into it.
What's the best way to dig yourself out of a bad plot?
Oh my goodness. I think, wow, I think it was Raymond Chandler who would always say that when things were going bad, have a man come through the door with a gun in his hand.
Yes.
So, you can always throw the drama at it if things are going bad, but, that does get a little bit tired after a while. I think people do see through that. If, it's getting a bit weak, bad things happen. So I think it's if it's getting really weak, it usually means that it's about 3 or 4 steps back that things started to go a little bit pear-shaped. So it's go back and look what happened in the last chapter to work out why it's not working now.
Yeah, good advice. Does your main character ever surprise you?
Oh my goodness, yes. I think she's got this dodgy love life thing going on, and I just never know what's going to happen there. So she always surprises me with that, and I think she's a lot shiftier than I realised at first, which has kind of surprised me in the latest thing that I'm working on. I didn't realise you're kind of in that dodgy area, but anyway, there we go.
How much of you is in one of your characters?
I think because I've got the art background, so there's got to be that little bit in there. But I think not as much as people think, because Alex is written in the first person, which I want to say I dug myself into it, but I set it up like that in the first book because that had 2 timelines. So I made it distinct that Alex was in the first person. So people assume there's a lot more of me in there, and I've literally been served coffees the way Alex takes it. Yeah. Because I know, right? But as I said, she's shifty. I mentioned she's shifty, so I'm not shifty.
Isn't that lovely, though, that people have engaged with her character so much that they think that it's you?
It's great. And actually the funny thing is, because Hogarth, the dog, goes to the dog park occasionally and I still teach dog training classes, I actually have some of my dog students say, that border collie in the dog park scene, that was my dog, wasn't it? And I kind of go a bit wide and go, yes, it was.
Always.
The dog thing's apparently very important.
What's the scariest thing in your novel?
They're not particularly scary. They're probably more in the cozy thing. I think sometimes for Alex, I think the scariest thing is her love life. But yeah, we do get a few people with guns. So yeah, scary gun people.
Yeah. Tell us something in your book. Tell us something not in your book about a main character.
Oh, that's tricky.
Secret backstory.
Secret backstory. I've got to think who I can tell you about. Oh, one of the characters is actually gay.
Wow, good. And hidden or?
Mostly hidden, yeah.
Yeah, okay. How would you write a crime book about the pandemic?
Wow. I think I'd have to have a serial killer just walking around in a mask and gloves and no one realising they're a serial killer just because everyone's wearing a mask and gloves.
Good, yeah. How do you write about sex?
Well, as I said, Alex has a very dodgy romantic situation going on, so there's not much sex going on. So it's very, it's very sort of ships that pass in the night kind of situation. So there'll just be little bits, like just a little touch, and then everyone kind of goes and backs off again. So it's an interesting one, and I think the first person thing is people keep asking me about that too. So I don't know where we're going to go with that.
Who's your favourite crime fiction character?
Oh, crime fiction character. That's really a tricky question. I'm not allowed to pass again, am I? I have to say Phryne Fisher. I think, Kerry Greenwood's Phryne, the period, the gutsy female, she's just such a wonderful character.
She's a great character, isn't she? Yeah, very popular. And our final question, Katherine, how would you get away with murder?
I can't tell you that.
Come on, you're among friends.
I suppose the real answer is, how do you know I haven't?
Exactly.
Well, look, let's just talk about veterinary pharmaceuticals and all the things that, are potentially useful there. So there's lots of ways and means, I think.
Yes, a vet medication. Wow. Not that you're telling us.
No.
Katherine, thank you for being with us on Murder Mondays.
Thank you so much, Karina. It's been huge fun.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.